It's Trish Ahjel Roberts here, and I'm excited because it's International Women's Day, and I am out here live in Ghana, West Africa, with my new friend Yawa, who is an expat from what part are you? Where are you from the U.S.?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
From Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we are talking today about creating your sister circle. And I wanted to start with just a quick kind of grounding meditation to get us into this space together. And then we're going to get into the topic. So come to a comfortable seat. If you're seated in a chair like me, you just want to sit up straight, feet flat on the floor. I'm actually going to kick off my shoes because it always feels good to ground my bare feet when I can. And let's just take 3 breaths together to start. So we're going to inhale through our nose. Let our belly fill, and then exhale with a sigh. Good, and then 2 more times. Inhale through the nose. Let the belly fill, exhale with a sigh. And the last one, inhale through your nose. Let the belly fill up and exhale with a sigh. And then we'll just relax our body from head to toe. So bring your awareness to the crown of your head. And imagine that area is warm and relaxed. Bring your awareness to your forehead, your temples, the back of your head. And just relax all of that. We hold a lot of tension around our eyes, our nose, especially our jaw. So if you can maybe wiggle, if it's not too weird where you are, and relax the muscles in your face. I'm taking a little shoulder roll here. We've had a long day. It's later over here in Accra than it is in the States. We're about 5 hours later. So if you want to roll your neck, you can do that. You can take your shoulders up and back, roll your shoulders up and forward, and just release all of that. Release your upper arms, your forearms, your elbows, your hands. Release your chest, relax your heart, relax your belly, hips, thighs, calves, and feet. And then just scan your body from head to toe. See if there's any place where you feel like you're holding any tension or anything that's still bothering you that you need to adjust. And just go ahead and adjust that. We're just going to take a few breaths together in a short breathing meditation. So don't change your breathing, just bring your awareness to it. See if you can notice your breath. You might notice it right at the tip of the nostrils. You might notice it in the back of your throat. You might notice the rise and fall of your chest and of your belly. And just take a few moments here. See if you can follow your breath. And just follow it to the exclusion of anything else. So if you find your mind wandering, just redirect it right back to that breath. And because it's International Women's Day, I want you to imagine that with your breath, you're inhaling all the courage of the women that came before us, the ones who fought for the right to do things like vote, to have their own bank accounts, to purchase property, to speak publicly, to write books, to give speeches, all of the things that we've fought for. Just imagine that you're inhaling all of that courage, that you're inhaling all of that inspiration, that you're inhaling all of that confidence, and that you're inhaling all of that self-love. Because what would it take? What would it take for you to do those types of things? To speak around the world, or to fight power, to fight for equality? You just take a few breaths here, noticing your breath, Imagine inhaling the energy of the women fighters who have come before us. And then go ahead and relax your concentration. When you're ready, open your eyes slowly and come back into this space. And I just let the amazing Teresa, I don't know how to say your last name, Teresa. And Teresa is my amazing tour company owner out here in Ghana, who has been organizing and leading a trip for us like nothing I could have ever imagined. So we've been out here for nearly 10 days now. It is the Ghana Soul Healing Retreat, and it has been absolutely incredible. We brought 11 people from the US, and Yawa here was my 12th person. She's been living in Ghana for 10 years?
Approximately.
About 10 years now. And she's been with us the whole time, enjoying the whole experience. But so today's topic is creating your sister circle. And I wanted to start, I have a book out that's called 12 Steps to Mind-Blowing Happiness. The third step is about connection and community. So I want to read a short passage there, and then I'm going to teach a little bit, and then I want to get into some conversation about your experiences and my experiences with relationships in Africa and in the US. So step 3 to mind-blowing happiness is create your village. It takes a village to support an adult. And it begins with an African proverb, which is very fitting for my first trip to Africa. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You've heard that one before?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. Okay. So you cannot attain a profoundly joyful life if you are isolated. Humans are deeply social creatures. When we're disconnected from other people, we wither and dry up. So whether you consider yourself an introvert, an extrovert, or somewhere in between, we all need connection. Western society is structured in a way that makes many of us feel lonely. We have individual goals and often live alone. Media and advertising encourage us to compete with our neighbors and keep up with the Joneses. Social media has us even more transfixed. We were having this conversation before we started recording. We compare our homes, work, clothes, cars, and relationships. Stepping away from this individuality and competition and leaning into community, collaboration, and cooperation are critical to expanding our joy and fulfillment. As you build your village of support, it is critical that you give at least as much support as you receive. It is also extremely important that you surround yourself with positive people, like my Yawa, who are interested in personal development. The United States has reached a point where many people are being deceived by conspiracy theories, recruited by hate groups, and incited by media and religious personalities. Seek communities based in love and you cannot fail. That means you must avoid racism, sexism, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, firearms, and speciesism in the groups you join. Do you know speciesism? Is that a word you heard?
No.
So in case you have not heard of speciesism, that's the idea that one species is better than another species.
Oh.
And that's why many of us are vegan, because we know that animals feel pain and animals, they love each other and have families just the way that we do. Avoid hate and violence in all its forms. Even if these areas are still areas you're working on for yourself. So like you may not be vegan, but it's still awesome to be in a vegan group because it's like a level up. So even if there are things that you're still working on for yourself, it's helpful to join groups with people who are farther along the path toward uplifting and embracing others. Non-harming, personal development, and joy. Some people you will pay to be in your village, like your doctor, your coach, your therapist, your personal trainer. Even in these relationships, you can show up with an extra smile, a kind word, a small gift, or a note of appreciation. Some relationships don't have an exchange of money, like family, friends, workout buddies, coworkers. These relationships have a powerful exchange of energy, which is even more important to notice. Your village is waiting, but you need to build it yourself. And this part ends with a quote from Mother Teresa.
Mm.
You can't go wrong with Mother Teresa quotes. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. And that is my goal. So you may have heard me say I want to teach the 12 steps to mind-blowing happiness to 12 million people. I don't know, why not? You know, my mentor sold 16 million books. Why can't I sell 12 million? I'm still writing books. I have a book coming out in the spring of 2024 called The Anger Myth, which is around the 5th step to mind-blowing happiness. So listen, I'm trying to spread my ripples, you know, I'm trying to ripple out the good feeling and the good teachings. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about in addition to this was what I call the GEM test. And I was telling Yawa about this before. So I think this is a great test for any friendship or any relationship, and it's a GEM. So it's GEM. So the G is for, do you have good intentions? So when you're in relationship with someone, do you have good intentions for each other? It could be your boss, it could be your coworker, it could be your partner, your friend. So good intentions is the first piece. The next piece is, are they encouraging? You know, because I know I've had friends where it's kind of like, you say, yeah, I want to do this. And they're like, I don't think you could do that, you know, and they're just like not encouraging you. And it's not like you need somebody to just like be a yes person and be like lying to you, but you want people who will encourage you and not be discouraging. And the M in the M test is mutual respect. So you can't just talk any old kind of way, right, to people that you care about and expect them to stay around. So that's the GEM test. So I'm going to ask Yawa a question. So first, Yawa, I want you to tell me, because you've been here 10 years, is there anything that you have found different in the way that Ghanaians relate to each other versus the way people were relating to each other in Milwaukee? Is that what you said? Milwaukee. Okay. Yeah. So what do you think?
Of course, they relate differently because of the environments, number one.
Well, you must have liked it because you came out here. Like, what attracted you to Ghana?
Oh my gosh. I love everything about Ghana. I really do. When I first came to Ghana, in less than 5 minutes, I knew it was going to be home. I just love everything, the weather, the people, the food, the countryside. I just love everything, and I'm being honest.
No, I agree. And I wouldn't expect anything less than honesty if you're talking to me. So tell me about the people. I mean, I can tell you some things that I heard, but tell me what your perspective was.
In general, most Ghanaians are extremely nice people, and they want to welcome you for coming back home, and they want to do anything they can to help you.
Yeah.
That's in general.
Yeah. And I felt that way too. I felt like the people in Ghana recognized that I was a little lost. You know, that we have a kind of a lost culture in the US, and not that we haven't created our own Black culture in the US, because Black culture is totally a thing, but we're disconnected from the culture that came before that, you know. And then when you get here, you really feel it like, oh my gosh, there's a place for me, you know, like I belong somewhere. I don't have to always feel like, you know, getting that look like, why are you here? Why are you in this room? You know, you're not good enough, or you're not working hard enough, or what do you do? You know, anything that's not happening in your life is like, it's your fault. Because, you know, it's just a different feeling. It's a feeling of belonging that I was hoping for. And, you know, I'm coming back, right? And that I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to experience because, it's an expensive trip and most people, she must be rich. She's laughing. She's like, oh, no. By now, so y'all would just met me, so she doesn't know. I just call her how I see it, and I say whatever. But that's a fact. The airline ticket alone is like $2,000. So most people are not able to make the trip. So it's such a privilege to be able to be here, and I wish that every African American could be here. However, I will say that I am compiling photos and information from what she's still laughing because I said it's expensive from what I've done so that I can share a lot of what I've learned with you. Why are you over there giggling, y'all? What else is making you
Because I'm thinking some women, one bag and one pair of shoes is $2,000. And this is so much more rewarding coming home.
Oh, but some people don't have $2,000 for a bag and a pair of shoes. You do know that, right? Not everybody has, not everybody has the same financial resources. Wait, over here. But see, look, something just happened, but we still have internet, so we're okay. Oh gosh. Okay, so one of the things that I thought really was interesting about relationships in Ghana was when we were doing the tour of the dungeons, right? So we went up to Cape Coast and we toured the dungeons. We had this amazing tour guide named Tony. And he was talking about the difference between European traditions and African traditions. And he was saying, when you go to shop in African places, you're not going to see prices many times on the products because you have to have a conversation with the shop owner and discuss price. He said, it's about relationships versus, this is the price. And, now we have a culture where you don't even have to go talk to a shop owner. You can go online and buy things and never speak to anyone. And we do a lot of that now. If you buy things on Amazon, you could be buying from a small business, but you would never even know who it was because everything is transactional. So I thought that was really interesting. Had you heard that before? That
Yes.
Conversation about being transactional versus having to have conversations with people, So I thought that was pretty cool. I had some other things here about relationships in Ghana. Was there anything else that you were thinking of?
Relationships here in Ghana, they can be really, really, really good. When you find someone that you can really relate to, it's a relationship that's unique. Totally different from in the US, in my opinion.
I know we have the, you see how I said we? Did you catch that? I said we like I live here now. You see how we got the African American Association of Ghana, which is nice because then you get to meet other people who are from the States, so you have that additional connection as well. So I made another couple of comments that I wanted to make, and then I have some questions. Y'all want to giggle at me over, but we were able to go do this tour of Shy Hills, which is it's like a animal preservation type park place, and they didn't tell us that we were going to be climbing up these ridiculous rocks, and she didn't tell us either. So it was like these ridiculous rocks, they're like, oh, it's just 200 meters. Well, I don't know what a meter is. I think it's a yard or something. So I figured it's short. And then then we get there and these rocks that we're scaling with ropes. And I never, did they have ropes when you did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't tell us any of this. And neither did Teresa, right? So, we ended up climbing this thing with the ropes. What was nice about it, besides the fact that, we got a workout and it was fun and whatever, but what was nice about it was that we were all kind of supporting each other, making sure that, whoever was last was able to get up and everybody was okay. And it ended up being this incredible experience. So I just, I don't know if that's necessarily an African thing. That was something we got to do today. But it was kind of like a team building, and even yesterday, and you didn't do that one either. She's been skipping out. Yes, Teresa, a beautiful bonding already. So what she does is she doesn't tell us, and she just weights for our faces when we come back. Yesterday we did these amazing canopy bridges. Teresa, thank you so much for that. It was like incredible. And it was another kind of experience of rooting for each other and supporting each other. So that was fantastic. And I mean, I guess that kind of goes back to that gem test of encouraging, encouraging each other. Yeah. The other thing that came up a couple times, or maybe even 3-4 times since I've been out here, and I've seen a little bit of it in the States, is that there are these traditions of having rites of passage. The US, we don't have a whole lot of that. I actually had my daughter do a cotillion, which she wasn't that into, but I was totally into. Because I wanted her to have, even though she wasn't into it, I wanted her to have that memory of having some sort of rite of passage experience. If you don't know what a cotillion is, it's this particular one was hosted by a sorority, Delta Sigma Theta, and they just have the kids around. I think they're junior high school, not junior high school, juniors in high school, and they have them go through this whole process where they learn about etiquette and they learn to ballroom dance, and they just have it's like a big coming out party. Yes, coming out party, exactly. So in African traditions that I've learned since I've been out here, the idea of going from a girl to a woman really has a process to it. So we learned about in Shy Hills today, they would actually go, and correct me if I mess this up, but they went into the mountains for 6 months. All the women went with the girls who were transitioning into the mountains for 6 months, and they slept out there. And I guess they learned to cook and probably take care of their husbands and stuff like that. But it was still a nice, yeah, I got it right. I know I want to be feminist, but it's like that wasn't what was happening. But they did have a process to transition from being a young woman or from a girl into a young woman, and to be prepared for marriage and to understand, what their roles were in society and what was expected from them, which, I just thought was, they teach them how to handle the men. That's probably exactly what they needed to know, Teresa. Yeah, and I thought, we need something, like I did a cotillion. It was another thing. It was expensive. Not everybody has access to that. It was difficult for me as a single mom to be able to even give my daughter that opportunity. Plus, I had to be invited. Plus, she had to have the right grades to do it. It wasn't something that just anybody could do. So it just made me realize that there really is a lack of a sense of transition for young women and also for young men. The other one that we learned about was the depot ceremony, which I'm not sure if it was like the Ashantis. I don't know, Teresa, you might be able to chime in on this one. Who does the depot? But it's another ceremony for girls to transition into women, for society to acknowledge that transition. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know. I paused because I was thinking, do we need something to acknowledge when we transition from being like young women to being like grown ass women or something like that? Oh, it's the Korobos. Okay. Yes, so that's the tribe. And Teresa is giving me some information there. So I want to, I guess, ask Yawa, and then I'll open it up to anyone else who wants to come on camera. Yawa's like, why are you asking me anything? You wanted to be here. So I'm thinking that you want to talk. You love talking on the bus.
I thought I was the
audience. Tara and Teresa are the audience. You are the co-host. Okay, so who is your favorite shero and why? I'll go first to make it easy for you.
Thank you.
All right. So I think my favorite shero, I mean, it's kind of corny, but it's going to still be Oprah. She is still like she's a little older than me, but like I've seen her come up, and I've seen, she was the first person. Oh, Maya Angelou. Yeah, she's a good one, Teresa. I've seen her, I really remember when her talk show went from how everybody else's talk shows were going, where they were really exploiting people's hardship and pain and stuff like that. And she made the decision not to go that route. And she really made a decision to get spiritual and inspirational and bring things to people that we were not seeing prior to that, like some wisdom teachers and stuff like that. And of course, she's a huge philanthropist. So she's still one of my sheroes. So we got Oprah, we got Maya Angelou, and we got Yahweh's gonna give us, who do you like?
I'm gonna say my father's mother, my grandmother on my father's side. Her name is Beatrice Kennedy. She was born in Oakdale, Louisiana. I really admired her. She had a ton of children. She was a fabulous.
What's a ton?
10.
Oh, wow. Okay, that would qualify.
And she was always calm and composed and just a very confident person. She didn't have a whole lot of formal education, but she was educated in knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I really admired her.
That's a good answer, because I was going to ask you, what are the things? So it was the calmness and the fact that she was wise.
Yeah, because like my husband was working on his PhD at the time. So we were living in Lafayette, Louisiana, which isn't that far from Oakdale, Louisiana, and we would visit her. And, the years were passing. And then one time when me and my husband went, she said, "When are you going to finish school? You've been in school all of these years."
What, to her son?
No, to my husband.
Right. Yeah.
And then she said, "As dumb as I am, I think I would have been finished," but she couldn't understand that it took so many years
to
get that little piece of paper.
Uh-huh.
But the way she said it, it was classy, the way she said it, not the way I'm saying it. And me and my husband, we talk about it all the time, because she was just an amazing person.
Yes. And Teresa, I see your comment here. Your favorite quote of hers: "Good done anywhere is good done everywhere."
Wow.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. The one that I always think of with her is when she says, "People may forget what you said or what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel," which I think is very true. So you mentioned calm and wise. What qualities do you look for in a friend?
Someone that accepts me the way I am.
We were talking about that last night. We were talking about authenticity and secrets, and how, we all want to be seen, but we can't be seen if we're hiding behind a rock all the time. There's got to be somebody, who we allow to see us. So yeah. So for me, I think qualities I look for in a friend, definitely authenticity. Like when if my friends start BSing me, I find that really annoying. I'm like, I can get BS anywhere. I don't need that from my friends. Oh gosh, my hair is falling down. I'm having a whole situation here. There we go. We got a new look. I love that I cracked Yawa up for like just no reason at all. Like, this girl is crazy. Yeah. So Teresa, any comments on favorite qualities in friendships? I said authenticity. I mean, I feel like that's honesty. And we started off with some of those other ones: good intentions, encouragement, mutual respect. Nobody wants the phone to ring from someone who's like miserable all the time. You want uplifting friendships. So I do want to share, in my third step, I do teach people how to build their tribe. And I know that I have someone on the call where we've had this conversation before. It's important to identify groups that you want to be a part of, and to find elevated groups. Like this group that we're in is an elevated group. This is not just a tour of Ghana. It's not just a group of random people touring Ghana. It's the Soul Healing Retreat because we're trying to accomplish something. Thanks, Teresa. You know, it's a group of people who are looking for personal development, who are looking for growth. We're not just going walk around saying, oh, look, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. You know, we're processing things. We're meditating. We're doing yoga. We're having conversations that you don't normally have. And we are, excuse me, we are eating a plant-based diet. You know, and we're eating a plant-based diet for a reason. You know, we all have different reasons. Some of us, it might be more health related. Some of us, it might be more compassion and anti-cruelty. But whatever it is, it required an elevated thought to make the decision to not consume certain items. However, you know, however that worked out. Forgive me with my clearing of the throat over here. So you want to join organizations where you can meet people who maybe are a little bit further along than you are. It could be a book club, you know, you're going to meet people who read in book clubs, especially if you join a book club where they're reading something substantial. You know, there are book clubs that could be Black history. I used to have one for a while where we only read Black authors. You could read you know, you could join a book club that's maybe a nonfiction book club. I am in a group where we watch documentary films, you know, so just different things where people are trying to elevate and grow, as opposed to joining the bar club, you know, the Friday night, let's get some beer club, you know. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with getting a beer on a Friday night, but the thing is, there's no barrier to enter that club, right? All you have to do is have a beer, which it doesn't say like any really qualifying characteristics about you. If you're looking for people who are thoughtful or intelligent or read or want to make the world a better place or whatever it is you might be looking for. So definitely join organizations where you can meet with the right person. The other thing is the first person to talk is the one with the confidence. So when you're in a room, right? If you're in a room and everybody's kind of like, nobody's saying anything, the one who says, hi, I'm Trish, nice to meet you, caller. So you want to try to be that person, the one who is comfortable enough to go up and introduce yourself to someone. So that's one technique.
That's me, but I didn't know that that was the reason why.
Oh, you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is usually the person who is not approaching people, you know, may have some social anxiety or, you know, concern about it. And it doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. But I think it is, you know, for us to get outside of our comfort zone sometimes. Like for you, that's easy. For me, it's honestly not that easy. People think it's easy for me because I am what they call a high talker. I can talk a lot, but it's not necessarily easy for me to just walk up to a stranger in certain scenarios and introduce myself. And then of course, it depends what group you're in as well. You know, I've been in a lot of corporate environments with a bunch of white men in suits, and maybe I didn't necessarily want to go in. You know, like it might not have been my people. Let me see, did I miss a comment here? Teresa, I see where you said they are great, but I missed what that was in reference to. So if you want to put in what that was, then that would be great, because I don't know exactly what you were talking about. But yeah, so when you're joining groups and meeting people, oh, yeah. Thank you. That's my group. Thank you. She's just saying our group is great.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a different energy for sure. But so when you meet people in groups, and I'm going to encourage people in our group here, you know, I've mentioned it once, I'll mention it again, that I encourage some people to try to make some connections where you stay in touch. When we get back to the States, you can say, you know, let's have a Zoom coffee. Let's find out, is there any way that I can help you with whatever you're working on? Projects? Are you moving to Ghana? Are you thinking about another trip? You know, just anything. We're all working on stuff, right? What's your latest book about? Where's your next trip? Just making connections with people. because joining the groups alone are not enough. You have to actually get to know people and spend some time with them. And then my favorite part of friends, I shouldn't say it's my favorite, I'm slightly, I could, let's just say I have healthy boundaries. So one of my favorite things, and I was just listening to a book by Rachel Rogers called We Should All Be Millionaires, which is a great book if anybody wants to get a great read. But she talks about how once a year, this woman that she knew would go through her friends list and just get rid of people,
Wow.
you know? And I don't do it with that kind of like schedule, but I think that it is important to make sure that you're giving your energy to the right places. So one of the things I know that I have an issue with is that sometimes I could be like too happy. And like, I might be like, yeah, what? And maybe I send you a Christmas card every year or something like that. And y'all would send me a Christmas card, you know, or I might text you and see how you are. Like, I'm always the person who's like, well, how are you? You know, I'm checking in or whatever. And sometimes I'm checking on the people and they're not checking in on me. And so I'm realizing I have to work on letting those people go, the ones who don't check back, because I would let them just hang out. Now, the ones who bother me, I get rid of. Even if it's only temporarily, you know, like if it's, I don't know, like negative energy all the time or not encouraging, you know, like the gem test thing, like I might get to a threshold, it's also depending on what I'm going with in my life, where I might just be like, I need a minute. So what do you think about that? Because you were giggling, she likes to giggle. So what do you think about this idea of kind of going through, you know, kind of Marie Kondoing your friends list?
I found it very interesting when you said it, because it had been hard for me to let go of certain people when I knew that they were negative and being destructive, and I wanted to hold on to trying to, quote, help them.
Yeah.
But some you just have to let go. But just sitting down, going down the list, drawing line through names, no, I don't see myself doing that. I can see myself not, okay, I'm not going to call this person because the last time I spoke with them, I had a dark feeling and I don't want those.
Yeah.
I do that.
Yes, yes. Yeah. But I think that however you do it, just having an awareness of it, that not every friendship has to be forever. You know, like some people are like, well, I've known this person since I was 3 years old. And I'm like, well, okay, well, when's the last time you had a positive conversation with them? You know what I mean? Like you don't have to, they don't own you because you've known them since you were 3 years old. And then the other thing I think is if we treat people how to treat us.
Right.
You know, so if we just keep allowing things, like you can't call, like every conversation can't be you just dumping all your problems on me and not listening to me or asking me how I am. Right. And if I keep saying that's okay, this keep saying that's okay, or I keep allowing it, then that means that I'm giving you permission, you know? So part of having healthy boundaries is, you know, letting people know, well, I don't like that. And if they don't stop that, then it's like, well, you know, maybe you don't have access to me.
But
Right
I
now.
think when people are doing that, they don't realize it. I think sometimes they think you have your stuff together and you're here to help me. That's my interpretation.
Right. Well, yeah. And that's probably very true. But it's like, do you want your relationships to be reciprocal?
Of course.
Yeah. And listen, I'm guilty too, because I told you I'll be checking on people who aren't checking on me. But this is a new year and I'm not doing that anymore. That is over. Yeah, Teresa. So Teresa, you said sometimes people not getting in touch regularly doesn't mean they've forgotten you. So that means you're probably one of the ones who do that. Some people call you and you don't call them back. Is that what's happening? She said, yeah. Well, shame on
Teresa's busy.
All right, well, at least you warned me, so now I know. She said it's not because she doesn't love them. Yeah, listen, everybody's got their own to-do list and agenda on all the things they're trying to take care of. So I'm thinking this was a great conversation. I had a lot of fun. Before we wrap up, does you have any other tips or anything on friendships or?
Just be true to yourself and do no harm.
All right, well, there you go. I'll give it to you. I'll give you my gem test again. Good intentions, encouragement, and mutual respect. So I'm going to close out with that. If you are thinking about working with a coach, or you want to learn more about relationships, if you want to learn more about overcoming self-doubt, building confidence, being more authentic, getting past shame, getting rid of anger, any of those things, I encourage you to schedule some time with me. The website is blackgirljoytalk.com. And yeah, and that's it. Shame, self-doubt, lack of self-love, any of those things that get in the way of us doing the things that we want to do and accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish in life. So I hope to hear I hope to hear from some of you. Thank you so much for being here with me live from Ghana, West Africa. And stay tuned because I'm going to have some great content to share this trip with you all when I get back to the States. All righty.
Peace,
Bye-bye.
love, and light.
Thank you. Bye-bye.